What did you get up to yesterday? Nothing. What did you learn at school? Nothing. What are you going to do for the holidays? Nothing. Sounds like a dialogue that some parents might have with their teenagers. Common response is nothing. Sort of is a bit like it's not quite an adult response, but it's not really the response of a little child either. Here we have in our gospel the apostles arguing with each other who's going to have a better seat, who's going to be more powerful, who's going to be greater. They're sort of arguing amongst themselves. Jesus has overheard them and he asked them, "What were you talking about when we're on the road? What were you arguing about?" And their response was, "Nothing." They sound like teenagers. They sound a little immature, really. They knew inherently what they were doing was wrong, but they didn't want to name it. And then Jesus responds by saying, "You need to welcome the little children." So I want us to think about what it means to be a little child. Teenagers, their often response is nothing, or even sometimes you just get a groan out of them. Some of you might know what I'm talking about. But little children have this honesty, an openness and a trust. Very little children need the help of others. They can't exist. Little babies can't exist without the assistance of others. And Jesus is reminding us that if we want to be welcomed into his kingdom, we need to become like little children. We need to be willing to serve those who are most vulnerable, those who are in most need. So there's a few things I think we can learn from the idea of being a little child. First of all, a little child needs others, needs the help of others. And we need the help of God. We need the help of others as well. We can't just do it all by ourselves. If we're thinking we can be independent and powerful in our own right, and the world seems to sometimes give us this idea, yes, we are powerful, we are strong. Jesus is saying this is not the way of God. The way of God is interdependence. I need others. You need others. We need each other. We need God. And that's what a little child does. A little child needs their parents. A little child learns the voice, knows the voice of their parents, looks to their parents when they're in need. And this is the way it should be for us as Christians. We look towards God, we look towards each other for affirmation, for support, for love, to build us up. Little children have a trusting nature as well. They don't dismiss things. If they're told by someone who is perhaps more powerful than them about something, they're willing to accept. And they're willing to accept the service and the love and the knowledge of those who are bigger than themselves. St. James, in the second reading today, reminds us the importance of prayer. And prayer is not just about good thoughts. It's not just about what we want. And sometimes children, especially teenagers, but sometimes children as well, have a desire to indulge themselves. They want just what they want. And sometimes in English, even our culture, we can say that children can be spoilt, almost spoilt rotten, if they just get everything they want. And this is what St. James is reminding the community, the early church community about. That when we pray, it's not just to get what we want. It's not to indulge our own desires, but we should be praying with a true desire for the goodness of God, for the service of God for all. And that's a challenge. So, when we pray, we're called to pray with the desire for others, with a love for others. Little children, sometimes, they have we sort of encourage little children around Christmas time to ask Santa what they want, which is almost as indulging themselves. What do I want? I want a new toy car. I want a new remote control car. I want a new boat or a new doll or whatever it is. But being a person of faith, it's not about just what we want. It's about the love of God. And it's about service. So back to the gospel. We have the apostles saying things are about nothing. We're not talking about anything. We're talking about nothing. They're sort of hiding away from what they're meant to be about. And then Jesus then welcomes the little child. He blesses the little child and says, this is what we're meant to be. So let us this week, be ones who will welcome and bless and bring goodness to others, to those who are vulnerable, those in difficulties. Maybe it's little children. Maybe it's refugees. Maybe it's people who are isolated, who are afraid. They need to be welcomed. They need to know that they're supported, that they're loved, that they're cherished. They need to be prayed for. And prayer is not just good thoughts. It's not just an indulgence of ourselves to say, well, I get to have 5 minutes of peace and quiet for myself. That's not what prayer is about. This gospel and this reading today, our readings today are reminding us that prayer is about service. It's about the service of God and the service of others. They go hand in hand. That's what our opening prayer of the Mass talked about, that we're called to love God and love our neighbour. They go hand in hand. And so when we come to Mass, it's not just to sort of indulge our well, I need a bit of centering time for me. It's not just about me when we come to Mass, or just about you. It's about God and it's about others. And the Christian life is about how we can go into the world, not so we can get or take or have power, but to be people of service. And we serve through prayer, we serve through our love, we serve through building up the little ones. So what are we going to do today? Hopefully the response is not nothing. Let us be servants of Christ. Servants through our love, through our prayer, through lifting up the vulnerable, serving the vulnerable so that they have a place of importance, a place that is their home in God's kingdom.